from our sources and others about practice up to this point. The 1 day in pads. So I know that we're all going to warn everybody, hey, take it with a grain of salt. This is all we're hearing right now. But I know you and Gene and others have put together some stuff. I've done some stuff on the air as well regarding the quarterbacks. Also, a little bit about Deuce Robinson. A lot of people are excited about what he's done so far in camp. I guess take it from there, partner. Go with what you like and talk to me about what you're hearing out of camp so far.
Yeah, it's kind of maybe it's a good thing. It'll take a little heat off of us. We're not the ones giving our observations after what happened last year. Although I will say this, I thought it was cool that DJ Uyunglele threw the ball well at Pro Day last week. I talked to several people who were really surprised at how well he threw it. And I was like, yeah, it brought me back to remembering in camp. It wasn't like he was terrible in camp. It's just like things went off the rails for that whole team once they got on the field on Saturdays. But anyway, moving ahead, just talking to a lot of people. I mean, we've all talked to a lot of people who have either, that are around the program or people that just were able to watch some practices. And I've really been encouraged by what I've heard about Tommy Castellanos as a passer. Obviously we know what he is as an athlete. I think he's a guy that, brings a lot of talents to the table, but I've heard a lot of really good things about how he's throwing the football. So to me, that's really encouraging. But as you and Tom have heard as well, that, Brock Lynn obviously is taken well to Gus Malzahn's offense, which I kind of thought might happen. When Gus came in, I really thought there was a good chance that Brock would flourish even more than Luke before Luke decided to leave. And so I think that it's cool to see that that's playing out. And then, as you said, Deuce Robinson, I think he's definitely the guy that's created the most buzz out of practice so far. We all expected him to be the guy that could stretch the defense. I think we all envisioned him to be like a Johnny Wilson type or Keon Coleman, get downfield, back shoulder throws, high point the ball, being 6'6" and 225 pounds. But he's actually really impressed people with his plays after the catch. Has apparently been very sure-handed, and then also has, impressive breakaway speed after he gets the ball. So, there's a lot of positives right now. And, again, this is, a lot, anybody hearing this, anybody reading what we write is going to take everything with a grain of salt after 2024. But, I think there's a lot of things that people are excited about right now.
Yeah, and we're fine with that. Everybody should. I'm taking anything Mike says with a grain of salt right about now. I don't know what he's telling us is true. He can say anything he wants. We're going to be like, all right, whatever, buddy. We'll see. I mean, hearing good things about James Williams, I think that's important. I really, we're all going to be watching Darrell Jackson very closely because his upside seems to be great. And we were waiting on it for much of last year. Second half of the season was a pretty good one for him. Hopefully he takes the ball and runs with it and gets everything out of that frame. He's a massive individual and has a chance to be an NFL player. But I think it's going to be critical that they get something out of the Nebraska transfer. And I know you're hearing good things about James Williams as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's another one that his name just keeps coming up. I think, as Michael and Matt are out there talking to recruits who come on their visits, a couple of them have mentioned him as well when they've been watching practice. Like, hey, who's number 10?
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know who he is. They just know that he's been impressive. We've heard other people talking about him as well. And man, the measurables are kind of off the charts. I mean, he's another 6'5", 6'6" kid, 265 pounds. And, one of the things that we've been hearing that's really encouraging about him is just that not only is he, pretty impressive physically, and he obviously showed he could get after the passer when he was at Nebraska, but he's a guy at practice that just kind of knows one way and it's full speed all the time. And, people are mentioning, that he kind of practices the way, Fisk and Verse and those guys practice. Now, it's not to compare him to those guys, but just in terms of the way he's practicing and setting the standard for other players is something that, and Mike Norvell even mentioned that to us the other day, that he and Darrell Jackson both have just really set the tone for that defensive line group. And that's going to be another position where, there's a lot of speculation about whether or not they did enough in the portal. I think a lot of people, including you, probably think they didn't do enough in the portal.
Correct.
So we'll see how that position shakes out this spring and whether or not they could do anything else after in the spring portal.
The other part where there's a lot of intrigue is the new offensive coordinator in Gus Malzahn, and for obvious reasons now, it's going to be a different looking offense. And from the sound of it, they're gonna do everything in their power to go fast. They're gonna try to ratchet that up, and we're hearing early on in practice that's exactly the case.
Yeah, and that's going to be, probably an adjustment for some guys. And we were talking the other day to Cam Davis, and he made the comment that with Gus, there's no BSing around, in the sense that even there's just no downtime. And I think some people read the quote from Cam Davis and said, "Well, what was going on last year?" Just hanging around. But I don't think he meant it that way. I think his point was that it is just a much faster tempo than what they've done in the past. And, Mike Norvell, they always wanted to be able to go up tempo, and they had a couple periods every day. The first big period every day was an up tempo 1 minute drill, 2 minute drill offense. But that's kind of what they're doing all the time now. And so that requires a different level of, intensity, focus, mental preparation. It's not just being in good shape, but it's also being able to mentally stay engaged that much for that level of intensity. And so far, I'm sure there's been plenty of hiccups, but I've heard encouraging words about that so far.
Ira, there's no practice today, but what can you update us on in terms of injuries? Anything that you've heard? Some things have leaked out a little bit early on in practice with guys dealing with some bumps and bruises and the like. Big picture, where are they at from an injury standpoint?
From what I hear, nothing too bad. Nothing that's going to affect anybody for the fall. I think anytime a guy is going to be out for maybe 2 or 3 weeks or the rest of the spring, it's disappointing. As you said, there's been a couple names thrown out there so far, but from what I understand, nobody that's like going to be affected for their availability in the fall. So that's the best thing. If you keep your fingers crossed, if that continues, that'll be the best news of the entire spring.
Yeah.
But as far as right now goes, I think everything that they've had so far, it's only been a few things. None of them have been things that would affect them in the season.
Look forward to seeing you in studio tomorrow, my brother. Be well.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yep, take care. That's Ira Schafel, warchant.com. That's a good thing to hear about so few injuries. Knock on wood. That's always really, frankly, even when we're good,